Hey legends, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews. We're doing Transformers Season 2 again in this episode. This is Megatrons Master Plan Part 1. Now this, for me, is one of the best two-parters out of the entire run of Transformers. I absolutely love this two-parter. And I feel that Michael Bay pulled heavily from this two-parter in one of the live-action Transformers movies. I can't recall offhand if it was Revenge of the Fallen or Dark of the Moon. I would lean towards Dark of the Moon. But anyway, not the biggest fan of the live-action movies, though I love the original Transformers cartoon. And this one, it begins, the mayor is opening a new solar energy facility. That's a big word for this time of the night. And of course the Decepticons attack, but his campaign opponent Sean Berger has rigged the facility. You know, this millionaire political fight between the mayor and him was a big part of this two-parter, and he has actually rigged the solar energy facility to actually hide his private army's tanks inside it. So like he has obviously funded this thing. So when Starscream and the other jets turn up to steal the energy and start creating energon cubes, these tanks appear from inside the solar energy plant and they attack the Decepticons. And of course the mayor's like, Sean Berger, he's taking the law into his own hands again, and he calls for the Autobots' help. So in swift fashion, the Autobots do turn up and fight off the Decepticons and save the day. And the mayor decides, I want to honour the Autobots at City Hall, and like he sets up a whole Autobot day for them. But before this can happen, Sean Berger is kidnapped by Laserbeak and taken to Megatron. And Megatron tells him that, the humans are so blinded by Autobot propaganda that they don't even consider the fact that the Autobots are evil and that the Decepticons are good. And Berger doesn't believe this, but Megatron is an absolute genius. And he is so good at twisting someone into his way of thinking. And of course, with someone like Sean Berger, it's sheer greed that this guy thrives on. So Megatron tells him, like, if you join the Decepticons, everything that you survey here will be yours. He offers him the city, basically political success on Earth if he joins up with the Decepticons. But Berger won't believe him until he gets some evidence to back it up. And Megatron is like, you shall have your evidence, and he commands one of the Decepticons to take Berger back home, and Thrust transforms. Megatron actually physically lifts Berger and sets him into the cockpit, and off Thrust goes. So of course Megatron is like, this guy thinks he's going to be the king, but he'll never be more than a pawn, and his plan is set into action. And the next day, at an oil field, Berger has been tipped off that the Autobots are going to attack the oil field, and he turns up in a helicopter with video cameras. And of course, the Autobots are there, Optimus Prime, Ironhide, you name it. They're all there, creating energon cubes and sucking the plant dry. And Optimus Prime is heard to say that, this is another raid to blame on the Decepticons. And Berger takes this evidence and goes public with it. But the time he picks to go public with it is actually during the ceremony on Autobot Day. So Optimus Prime, the rest of the Autobots are in City Hall, the mayor's delivering a speech, and he's like, before we properly honour the Autobots, let's look at some footage of their heroic actions at the solar energy plant that we seen at the beginning of the episode. But when the video comes on screen, it's the video Sean Berger has got put in place of it, of the Autobots stealing energy from the oil field, and Megatron has been edited in here as well in this video, and just offers a mess load of damning evidence against the Autobots. And it's like in the first few clips, you see the Autobots stealing energy, and on a second clip, Megatron says, here's another clip to show why the Decepticons have acted irrationally on more than one occasion. And we see a clip of Wheeljack and Optimus Prime actually using this like ray gun sort of thing that sends out a signal that turns even the noblest creature to evil, and back, and just one story after the other to back up how evil the Autobots actually are, that they've actually created a weapon that can turn good people to bad people, good Transformers to bad Transformers, and that's why the humans have fought the Decepticons have been evil this whole time. And then a last clip is in there that was secretly filmed at Autobot headquarters, according to Megatron, and it's Optimus Prime basically saying, whenever we're fully trusted by the humans and the Decepticons are defeated, we'll claim this planet as our own. And he starts laughing maniacally. And of course it's like, this is a frame-up, obvious frame-up, but how they're going to talk their way out of this? They can't. There's video evidence right there. And Bumblebee actually says to the mayor, you don't actually believe this. And the mayor's like, personally, I don't believe it, but I have to consider all options. And he asks the Autobots not to leave the area. But Optimus Prime is just like, you know what, we're going to return to headquarters, and you can contact us there when you need us. So back at Autobot headquarters, they're trying to work out what's going on, how they're going to get out of this situation, because it's obviously a Decepticon plan against the Autobots. And then Berger's army actually turns up at Autobot headquarters, and most of the Autobots are ready to fight off the tanks, but Optimus Prime is like, what, we can't stoop to that level. We're only going to play into the Decepticons' hands if we fight back here. So Prime shouts up at the helicopter that's leading the army, we'll only surrender to an official law enforcement officer. And this is when the mayor himself, who's on the helicopter, comes across the loudspeaker, and he's like, you're all under arrest. And Prime at this point is like, offer no resistance, transform, start your engines. And the Autobots are led away by this army, and Berger is laughing inside the helicopter, and the mayor is like, I hope you're wrong. I really do hope you're wrong about all this. So we end off the episode basically with the trial of the Autobots, and the evidence that's been brought against them is completely damning. There's no way out of this at this point. But Spike, Sparkplug, and Chip are in the audience. Obviously, the Transformers are that big. It's not a courtroom they're in. They're actually in a big sports arena, and it's packed to the rafters with people. And Spike is like, something just doesn't sit right with this, and he actually runs to the video department of the sports arena where the tapes have been kept from the evidence against the Autobots, and like the source material sort of thing, the pre-edit, if you will. And the Decepticons have turned up to watch the guilty verdict been handed out to the Autobots. And as Spike runs away, Megatron knows what he's planning, and he gives Soundwave the nod, and Soundwave ejects Ravage and sends him after Spike. Spike does discover the truth, but too late at the end of the episode. You see the source footage of the oil field attack, and Optimus Prime, Ironhide, and a few of the other Autobots on screen. on the video monitor that he's watching, and Optimus Prime's hands come up and he lifts the mask off. That's not Optimus Prime, it's Starscream disguised as Optimus Prime. And Spike is like, yeah, this is the evidence that's going to free the Autobots. But the guilty verdict has been handed out. The guilty verdict is they're sentenced to banishment from Earth forever, and they're led away to a spaceship, forced aboard it by the Decepticons. A spaceship that's been, again, Sean Berger has spent his own money to fund the space cruiser to get rid of the Autobots, because he's looking at the big future here, you know, the big political future where he is master of everything he surveys. And like up at this point, like, Megatron has not just promised him one city, not 2 cities, but 3 cities at this point. So the so the greed is at top level for Berger. So he sees this as a small investment to get rid of the Autobots. We cut from there to a little bit later on where Megatron is in Autobot headquarters, and Teletran 1 is connected to the ship that the Autobots are on, and he destroys the computer communication between Teletran 1 and the space cruiser that the Autobots are on, and changes their destination from Cybertron to the sun. So Megatron's like, this is going to be my payment, you know, Berger, you're not getting a payment, I get my payment, and my payment is getting rid of the Autobots forever. So the end of the episode, it closes out. The Autobots are on a collision course with the sun, and there seems to be no way out at this point. But there's a little bit of a continuity issue in this episode, because when Spike goes to look for the evidence and the videotapes, between the time of him finding it, the Autobots have gone through the trial. We've skipped to later on in the day when they've been put on the ship, and they've actually been kicked out of Earth's orbit and into space. By the time Spike is like, oh, let's go show somebody this evidence. But you know, it is a cartoon at the end of the day, and Transformers was never big in continuity. This series was originally commissioned as essentially a half-hour advertisement for the toy line, you know. So Hasbro and the productive team behind the series was just like, you know, we'll get an action series with giant robots beating each other, and you know, they were never, you know, looking back on it now with adult eyes, they were never big on the continuity thing. But again, as I said at the start of this video, this is actually one of the best 2-parters in the series, and I might just have that opinion because it was the very small collection of VHS tapes I had as a child. You're talking probably 7 or 8 full episodes of Transformers, and this was one of them, and I watched this constantly as a child. I think the only other one that would come close to this one is and it's not really a 2-parter, it's not said it was a 2-parter, but there's like a 2-part episode later on in the season that's not actually listed as a 2-parter, but The Revenge of Bruticus, and the episode prior to that episode, absolutely fantastic. But Megatron's Master Plan Part 1 and 2 are absolutely fantastic, so stick with the channel for the next couple of days and we'll get Part 2 done. But the next video that's going to be up here is another He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.